Hello, and welcome to Living with the Program. Today I want to talk about just that. Rather than talking about a specific aspect or a specific element, I really want to talk about what it means to live with the program. One of the things, for example, that I do, that I've done for many, many years, is a daily neutrino forecast. The one that I do now is available on my Facebook page. And basically what I describe is the generally negative elements, that is, usually I work with the detriments, the negative elements that are there at any moment in the program. Now, the reason that I use the negative elements is that the positive elements actually sound good to people. In other words, why should we be concerned about something that sounds terrific? So, I began focusing in neutrino forecasts on just simply, dealing with the most negative aspects, because these are the ones that then you can become conscious of in the beings around you. But there's an assumption in all of that. The assumption is that anything that is there in the program or is listed in the forecast is something that, if you're trapped in it, or you fall for it, or you go along with it, that there is something inherently wrong with that. Well, it all depends. Let's look at it two different ways. If you're like most human beings, part of our homogenized not-self world, they're constantly moving up and down on the whims of the program. If you really want to have a fascinating study, then watch the program on a daily basis. Look at the keynotes that are being activated by the planets, and then pay attention to your newspapers and the talking heads on TV and anything that fundamentally is relatively live and relative to that day, and you'll get all of those keynotes coming back at you. It's like what I discussed last time in relationship to the nodes of the moon. If everybody is being conditioned to see things in a certain way, then everybody gets along on that trip until it just disappears. The fads, the shortened attention span that seems to be there. So for the homogenized world, this is a constant. Constantly being caught in the conditioning, because in essence they don't see that. They simply assume that this is who they are and this is what's happening to them. Now, if you're correct, and what I mean simply by that is that your mind's not making your decisions. That is, you're operating according to your strategy and authority. As long as you're operating according to your strategy and authority, truly it does not matter what's there in the program. It doesn't matter to you what's there in the program. It's not like you need to be concerned about the this and that of the activations that are there. You don't. As long as you're navigating correctly. And there may be an element in the program that appears to be really negative, that if you enter into it correctly, it is correct for you. Whether it's the positive or the negative, whatever it may be, it's not about the program dictating what you do. It's about your strategy and authority guiding you in the way in which you navigate this Maya. We can't live outside of the program. We're all in it. It is the essence of the Maya. It is life. But what is essential to understand in this is that if you're going to move through this in a way that's healthy, you move through it according to your strategy and authority. The other thing to think about is that if you're into human design and you're operating according to your strategy and authority, the daily program is about the other much more than it's about you. Oh yes, certain transits can be very important for you to learn about yourself, what happens to you in terms of these forces. After all, anything that you don't have in your design that you meet is an opportunity to learn. But what's really important, what I take as an example from the daily program, is that I'm always very much aware of what's going on in the personalities around me. When you go out into the world, when you go to work, when you go into the shop, wherever it is that you happen to be, you're walking into a homogenized world that's operating according to the program. And if the program says that aggressiveness is possible on a given day, don't be surprised then if you see it. But it also prepares you. That conversation that you're having with somebody who's a homogenized being, that you realize if you really push the conversation where you want to take it, it may lead to that aggressiveness because that's what's conditioning them. It changes the way in which you look at the world around you. And it begins to give you something that is really deeply special. It allows you to see. You know, seeing is the essence of awareness. And you see, when you begin to recognize that the forces that are around you that you have to deal with in this life are being manipulated directly by the program, then it's a no-brainer to see what the program is doing so that you understand what's going on around you. Obviously, in being prepared is the potential to be able to protect yourself, to be able to help others. But it gives you a deep insight into the mechanics that are all around you. See, the program, being able to recognize it in this way, to be able to analyze it in this way, the fact that we have this mechanical perspective available to us is an enormous boon. It is something that can bring such deep benefits into the life by being aware of what is going on. You know, that moment when you see that there is a whirlwind of, conformity in the way in which political forces are describing a certain event. Don't be fooled by what the surface looks like. Look at the program. Look at the nodes. What's everybody looking at? We live in a world right now, the nodes are in the 38th and 39th gate. Just seeing creates provocation. Just seeing. And provocative things are going to be all around us to see triggers that are out there. And that the homogenized world is all linked to that together, and it can be easily manipulated because everybody is seeing in the same way. Oh yeah, that's really the problem, they all say. Months later, they wonder why they thought that that was the problem and how it should be dealt with, because their perspective has changed. People talk about the poor attention span in modern societies, as if this is something that is brand new. It isn't. It's a nodal mechanism. It's just the way in which the homogenized world is conditioned to pay attention to this or that at any given time. When you know that, it gives you all kinds of possibilities. It also allows you to be aware of that in terms of its potential conditioning of you. So how do you live in the program? You can't live in the program by trying to figure out every single aspect and what you need to do with it, because it will not work. How do you live in the program? You operate according to your strategy and authority. That's how you live in the program. If you navigate correctly on this plane, if your mind isn't making the decisions, this is how you navigate in this program. This is how you take the best of it for you, and at the same time, it gives you this extraordinary opportunity to be aware of what is going on around you and what forces are impinging those beings around you. That in and of itself can be an extraordinary gift. So as I always like to say, honor your strategy and authority.